Hey, I'm Kelsey from LifeSong, and what do you know? Today, I am super excited to be here with my buddy, my cousin, my pal. Come on, act like you love me.
I do love you, Kels.
My cousin, Bo Sanders, and we have been buddies since we were born. That makes sense, right? Since we're family.
Cousin twins.
Yeah, people thought we were twins. That's a compliment to me. Actually, we were friends before we were born, since we're family. Right here. But I'm excited to just share a little bit of his amazing story. You know, here at LifeSong, we celebrate people's stories and people's journeys. And life is all about your journey and what you make of it. And we have our ups, and we have our downs, and we have our level, and we shoot back down, and we climb back up. And we learn as we go. We'll be learning and making mistakes and having success till the day we die. So it's just all about that, and living in the moment and learning and growing. So anyway, I'd love to hear about people's journeys. And Bo, he has done a ton. In fact, the other night we were talking about, for your age, it's really like you've lived like 3 lifetimes because he's packed a lot in his years of life.
Yes,
so
it's the miles, not the years.
Yes, it's the miles, not the years. We've talked a lot about that. And so he used to ride bulls. He's like a pro-level snowboarder. He works heavy machinery, underground mining, an underground miner, and done a bunch of adrenaline junkie. Loves to have high
definitely
action sports.
Need that in my life in some form or another.
And so he also is, what we want to talk to him about today, he is a recovering addict. And so, Bo, just for you to be here with me today, to be willing to talk about this, I really, really appreciate that and admire that about you. And like I said, we're all at different points in our journey and learning and growing. So if you don't mind, if you could share with us a little bit about describe some of your experience with that, being a recovering addict.
Well, I guess when you tell any story, you have to start kind of towards the beginning. And I'm sure that a lot of people that might hear this will hear their story in it. I came from kind of a broken home, I guess you would call it. Tons of love, tons of family and stuff, but at home was not like a good situation. So I guess that made me, it made me kind of wild. Like I just wanted to live life. I wanted to run away from all the bad stuff. When you're young, you don't really understand what it is that you're running from, but you know, the faster you go, the more distance you put between yourself and your problems. So yeah, I've been a lot of places. I've done a lot of things. I lived life as fast as I could. I was always a hard worker, but I guess eventually it catches up with you. So I've been at the top of the mountain young and road trips and wakeboarding and just absolutely loving life. And somehow I ended up from the top of the mountain to literally the gutter, homeless and nowhere to go. But through my I guess what you would call my journey is learning about myself, learning to face my problems. Family is so important. Everybody kind of rallied around me, and this time I went from the bottom to, I guess I consider the ultimate top. I have a family. I have 3 beautiful little girls and a job that I love. Music, I think, is a big part of that. Music heals your soul. But I would say to anybody, you know, you can run your whole life, but you'll never be happy until you learn to love, and love yourself and deal with your problems and play some music. For sure, play as much music as you can. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I've got some ideas going through my mind with this song that we're going to write. So that helped a lot. Just for the sake of creating creative material for your story. Maybe describe some moments of despair, like some things that you dealt with, or images in your mind, or colors that you felt in your life.
One that sticks with me, and actually 20 minutes ago I was talking about this with your dad. A couple years back, I was a heroin addict, like full-blown addiction at that time, and running from family, warrants, running from everything, just running and trying to be numb. And downtown Reno, my shoes were barely holding on to my feet. I had nothing. I had been homeless at that point for several months. And I'm walking through a random parking lot, and I ran smack dab into your dad. And that actually was the instant that changed my life. I was headed downhill at that point. Like I didn't think I could get any lower, but I'm sure I could. And I was just absolutely lost and didn't have the courage or whatever it takes to ask for help. I figured I'd just ride that one out until the wheels fell off, and I literally just walked into him, literally ran into him in a parking lot, and he put me in his car and he fed me and he brought me home, and they got me into treatment. And I just remember, like, the look on his face it broke my heart. At first I don't think he even recognized me, and then I just saw kind of no judgment, but horror to see what I had become. Like, I weighed 120 pounds and I was covered in dirt and track marks all over my arms. That was probably one of the lowest points in my life. But it started me on the road to the highest points in my life, where I'm at now. And I thanked him for that, seriously, like 20 minutes ago. I told him I loved him and said thank you for that. He came all the way from Arizona to find me.
That's God's hand
Something.
in your life, for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but I remember that week when I knew he was coming to Reno, and I called him, and I've never talked stern to my dad. I've always been pretty respectful, but I mean, this was already his plan as it was, but I'll never forget. Something came over me when I was talking to my dad, and I was like, Dad, you don't stop until you find Bo, and you hit the streets, and you look, and you search, and you find him, and don't stop. I was like, don't eat, don't drink, don't rest until you find Bo. I just had this urgency come over to me, and I've never talked to my dad like that before. I was just like, go out there. And we prayed that he would find you, and that was the first corner he came around, Bo.
Yeah, when I was living out there, like, at night, so I would just be walking around or whatever and kind of know where to go, and trying not to think about it, just trying to stay numb and not have to feel things. But like every night I would I guess what you would call prayers, that something would change, that something would pull me out of the situation that I didn't have the strength to pull myself out of. And there it was. And my family has never given up on me, and I think that's the thing that I fight the hardest for is my family. There's so much love in this family, and I don't know what people do without that. But you can find love in other places. You can find people to rally around you, and if you want it bad enough, someone will find you in that parking lot. Like, you gotta recognize the moment, I guess. But mine was obvious. It was a 6 foot, 200 pound man that wasn't about to get out of my way. So yeah.
Well, looking back and where you are today, what would be what would be something that piece of advice that you could give to another recovery addict?
That's a tough one because I don't. I know there's no answer to like life's problems, and whether you're an addict or just struggling with life, like it gets better if you do the next right thing. If you make good decisions and you love yourself and surround yourself with people that love you, it gets better. It's not a bottomless pit, it's not endless suffering. And there's times when you're in that situation when you think it's impossible that this could end. There's no way out of this, but you're in too far, so you just ride it all the way. But you don't have to do that. Like, you just make one good decision, and then another good decision, like the next right thing. I think that's what they call it, and it gets better. And it can take you all the way to places you never imagined you could get to. 2 years ago, I was a junkie living on the street with nothing. And in just 2 years, like here I sit, I'm still here. Like I said, I have a beautiful family and I'm stoked about life. Like, I'm glad to be here.
We're glad you're here too. Lots more good, fun memories to come.
Love you.
Love you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, ma'am.
And let's get to writing your song. You said it all perfectly, so I've got nothing more to say. You heard it here at LifeSong, where your story is music to our ears.